Om Madhuvata Ritayate Madhuksharanti Sindhavaha Madhui Irna Santoshadhi Madhunakta Mutoshasi Madhumat Parthivagum Rajaha Madhudyorastu Nafpita Madhumano Vanaspatir Madhumagum Astu Suryaha Madhvirgavo Bhavantu Naha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the winds bring us happiness. May the rivers carry happiness to us. May the earth give us happiness. May night and day yield us happiness. May the dust of the earth bring us happiness. May the heavens give us happiness. May the sun pour down happiness. May the cows yield us happiness. Om, peace, peace, peace. The setting. The Mahabharata tells the epic story of conflict between two families, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, both descendants of two brothers. Dhritarashtra, the eldest brother, is forced to renounce the throne in favor of his brother Pandu because he is blind. The children of the two brothers then argue over the succession. Duryodhana invites Yudhishthira, to the game of dice, knowing that gambling of his cousin's weakness. Yudhishthira accepts and eventually loses everything. As a result of the game, the Pandavas and their wife, Draupadi, are condemned to spend 12 years in exile in the forest. Now the last year of exile arrived. The brothers reviled Yudhishthira for his long inaction and all thirst for revenge. Arjuna lives to find powerful weapons for the war that he believes will come and he hopes to lead. Duryodhana refuses to give his cousins back their lands and convinces himself that the gods are on his side. Duryodhana and his brother try to find the Pandava brothers so that they can kill them and avoid war. Yudhishthira and his brothers, the other four brothers, then decide to hide in another lord's domain until they are strong enough for battle. After a series of failed attempts of assassination and reconciliation, formal battle plans are made and the war begins. And this is the Kurukshetra war. In the Mahabharata, we find the character of Duryodhana, who is the primary antagonist in this Hindu epic. He was jealous and ambitious. He was the eldest of the Kauravas, the 100 sons of the blind king Dhritarashtra and his queen Gandhari. Being the firstborn son of the blind king. He was the crown prince of the Kuru kingdom and its capital of Hastinapura, often forced into ceding the title to his cousin Yudhishthir, who was one of the Pandava brothers and older than him. Aided by his maternal uncle Shakuni, Duryodhana tricked the Pandavas into surrendering their kingdom and forced them to go into exile. When Duryodhana was asked, "Why did you do all this?" "The things that you are doing are wrong. Don't you know what is right?" He said, "I know what is dharma, but I cannot engage myself in it. I know what is adharma, and I cannot but do it. There seems to be somebody inside who is pushing me to do things, and therefore I am helpless. He is the one and only cause of this war." Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ramakrishna Monastery. Thank you for coming on this rainy day. Let's talk about conflict. Let's talk about values, this helplessness that apparently we all find ourselves into. All wars are centered in conflicts. In this world, there is tyranny, there is injustice, inequality, pride, jealousy, greed, and whatnot. And these are the reason wars get started. Human beings are subject to both internal and external wars. Conflicts seem to be the very nature of human beings, and there seems to be no exception to this fact of life. And the human beings need to find a solution, need to resolve conflicts, which is also another fact of life. The attempt to resolve conflicts was always there, and the resolution was sought after in various ways. But those resolutions again created further conflicts. What was looked upon as the resolution of conflicts sowed the seeds for new conflicts. If we analyze all stories, and those who are very popular out there in movies, we all find this. We will all find conflicts and its resolutions, and we love it. It's entertaining. There is always somebody who remains to be, the culprit, the evil culprit, for the next chapter. We see popular stories or movies like Star Wars, The Avatar, I happened to see the other day. And I was hoping that, it would end, finally, that somebody should kill that guy. Humans. And no, there was his son. Well, you will see. Well, I can't spoil it, right? Anyways, you go and see it in the movie, in the cinemas. But no, the conflict continues. And we kind of like it. That's life. We also see the same in Star Wars. They keep on creating new, enemies or whatever wars they can create. But what happens when we see animals? Sometimes I see our dogs playing all day, and all of a sudden, one triggers the other. There is a provocation. And Isha gets upset. Starts barking. I was like, whoa, what happened? What was that? I say, because she's usually a very loving dog. And then, and she does what she has to do. There is no judgment there. I also see sometimes they come with a gopher in their mouth. And I was like, oh no, why do you do that? And it's painful to one because you see a baby gopher and it was like, oh. And some of us go, I don't want to touch it. And then it has to be me, grabbing it from its tail. And what do you call that? That is nature. It is what it is. Animals react without any regret. They do what needs to be done. Don't stand behind a horse. You know what's going to happen. These are impulses. There is no judgment there. What happens to human beings? Human beings face the conflict as to whether he or she did the right thing by acting impulsively. Not only does the person experience regret, they're also hurt. So if one were totally controlled by biological programming, then one would be free from conflicts. What do I mean? Well, a spiritual life aims at the transformation of our personality. And this transformed personality, this mature person, will be free from conflicts. This mature personality will start behaving spontaneously. He is an integrated personality. A spontaneous person has no conflict. You might say, really? Yes. Let's analyze this. If something is to be done, he will have not even a second thought as to whether he should do it or not. He spontaneously does what is right, what is proper, and what is appropriate in a given situation. We are talking about the mature person, the mature personality. That is a result of our spiritual life. We've been presently working on chapter number 5 of the Bhagavad Gita on Wednesdays. And a few classes ago, I mentioned one of the verses. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma chitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvanna pina lipyate. One whose mind is purified and committed to performance of action, who has mastered the body and the sense organs, and who knows oneself to be the self in all beings, and who knows oneself, his own self, to be the self in all beings. Such a person, though acting, is not tainted, is not affected. Are we there yet? Why? Well, we are not as programmed as animals to act without a sense of guilt, to act without judgment. That doesn't mean that we have to become animals, but we have to follow the only one Dharma that is a must for all of us. To feel like that, to be there, is our goal. And that's how we should be able to live. To know oneself, to be the self in all beings. Back to the right and wrong. There seems to be no solution for this problem. What is right and what is wrong. Appropriate and inappropriate actions happen. Then what is appropriate? This person who is there already, who has matured, this person spontaneously does what is appropriate. Our lives are triggered to action. Our lives are triggered to action by our likes and dislikes, by the experiences of happiness and misery. We are called to act. That is a trigger. Happiness and misery. Have you ever analyzed this? We are all called to do, to act in this world, out of our experience. But if I like to do what is to be done, and do not like to do what is not to be done, did you follow? My life is in perfect harmony. And experience instant peace. Again, if I like to do what is to be done, and do not like to do what is not to be done, then my life is in perfect harmony, and I experience instant peace. The result of leading a spiritual life affects our personality. It transforms our personality and character. A transformed personality, a person who has grown up totally, is one whom we say is a complete person. And we can grow to be that person. Did you know that? We can. It's our right. In fact, it's our duty as human beings that we are. Every human being has to grow into a complete person. Until then, there would always be conflict inside. To grow into an adult, one has to change. And is that not happen naturally? Many things grow naturally in our bodies, like hair, until you reach some age, of course. That's the opposite. A mustache. So we all age naturally. But everything else requires effort. Everything else has to take place by one's own initiative. If I want to keep growing as a human being, physically, well, naturally we grow and we follow the laws of nature. But we can grow intellectually and spiritually. And it's up to who? Our neighbor. It's up to us. A human being is not supposed to be helpless in the sense, quote, this is what I want to do, but I cannot do it. I know this is wrong, and I cannot but do it. From where does such helplessness come? This question was not relevant to Duryodhana, I mentioned at the beginning of the talk. And of course, he didn't care to look into it. Why? Could be any of us, huh? Why this question was not relevant to him? What is the question? Why does helplessness come to us? He wasn't just ready. Does it mean that we need to be ready for something, for a change in our life? Does it mean that we need to awake to something, to a higher value, and make efforts to transform our personality? Yes. I am usually asked, that sounds great, Swami, when I listen to your talks, but I don't know how to start my spiritual life. Usually, you say, how do I meditate? Meditation is nothing but getting hold of your attention. But that needs to be expressed in your life. And you need to express this in your life with a value. First things first. Suppose a human being survives to reach adulthood. We can say he or she has no further growth. A human has a lot more to grow, a lot more growth possible after physically becoming an adult, and we know this. Once one becomes an adult physically through no effort on one's part. This is nature, and it is inbuilt. It is an inbuilt program. And we don't have to do much. It's just what it is. It is nature. A cow becomes an adult. And then it's over. That means, are there any rules for the cow? Well, except that the cow will remain vegetarian his whole life. He's not going to deliberate. Should I continue being a vegetarian or should I turn into non-veg? It has an inbuilt programming, right? This is exactly what differentiates a cow from a human being. The cow will behave exactly as it is expected to behave. That's why when you see the dogs chasing rabbits or even killing these tiny little animals, and you see them, you feel sorry. It hurts. You want to scold the dog. But then, you were like, well, I guess this is harmony. So the cow is free from right and wrong. Animals are free from right and wrong. There is no ethical cow, no immoral cow, no cow that is outlaw. Animals are totally free from conflicts. It is not so with human beings. Just because one becomes an adult physically, one has to understand that mere biological adulthood is not complete adulthood. We need to make efforts and being open to sacrifice our own interest for the sake of ourselves in others. We create our own problems when we stop considering how our decisions affect others. What do you think? Is it true? We create our own problems when we stop considering how our decisions affect others. Now let's try to analyze the concept of value. As a human being, we are self-conscious. We are conscious and aware of our own existence, aren't we? It is a fact. The self-you is conscious and grants upon you certain freedom. What you call free will or freedom to choose comes from your own self-consciousness. You could have stayed at home, you know. It's cold. Well, now it stopped raining, but that's why I said thank you for coming, because really you made an effort, and it was your decision. The self-you is conscious and grants upon you certain freedom. What you call free will, or the freedom to choose, comes from your own self-consciousness. In the human being, the faculty of intelligence is so mature and evolved that one becomes totally conscious of oneself. You are. It's not so in animals. A dog is able, indeed, to identify another dog. You know how? By using their smell. They know it's a dog, and they know it's not a dog when it is a cat. It has self-identity, but not to the extent that it will have a complex. A pedigree dog does not think that it is pedigreed. And another dog is just a strict dog. Dogs do not have these. Dogs do not have this sense of identity. Who has it? The owner. The owner says, oh, this dog is, don't you know, I paid $5,000 for this dog. And it's different than the other. The owner is the one who is conscious about the pedigree. And so he pays a little bit more for it. Thus, dogs do not have self-consciousness to the extent that they have self-judgment. One makes a judgment not only about oneself, but about others also. One has the freedom to explore and know, the freedom to do and not to do, and the freedom to do differently. This wonderful freedom we all have, and this is the reason why we need to learn more about ourselves. Life is full of choices. when it comes to food, clothing, how we respond to one another, how we act. The only choice we do not have is in exercising the faculty of choice. Did you get that? The only choice that we do not have is in exercising the faculty of choice. We have no choice but to choose. In fact, we have to choose all the time. Even if a person says that he doesn't want to exercise his choice, that is a choice made by him. Maybe an unfortunate choice. I don't want to vote. But it's a choice in itself. It is choice that really makes one a person. Whenever there is choice, there is a possibility of wrong choice and right choice. One must have certain norms on which to base one's choices. The norms must be universal. Only then can choices be either right or wrong. We should have the knowledge of what is proper and improper. In Sanskrit, what is dharma and what is the opposite, adharma, right or wrong. The concept of value indicates the regard for a thing, indicates the regard for a situation or attitude, which for some reason is esteemed or prized by the value holder. The appropriate values are certain universal ethical attitudes and are important to be practiced since it prepares the ground for the understanding of Vedantic principles. You just can't read it. You just can't say it. You have to become. You have to express that in your lives. In Sanskrit, an ethical value can be defined as dharma. Dharma is a standard, a norm of conduct derived from the way in which I wish others to view or treat me. See, it all starts and ends in ourselves. So selfish. It's not what I need to do for others, it's what I expect others to do to me. Usually. But that is not how it works. The dharmic mandates for behavior and attitude that commonly found in religious scriptures, in fact, trace their source to pragmatic common sense ethics, which religious ethics confirm. In other words, my norm for what is proper behavior or good attitude is based on the way I wish others to treat me or view me. What I expect or want from others becomes my standard for dharma, right behavior. What I do not want others to do is adharma, wrong behavior. Again, centered in me. We have to relate to people. We have to relate to animals, to plants, to trees. Relating is living, and the unrelated one cannot live. In being related, we make our life meaningful. The unrelated one, We may merely be alive, like in sleep or in coma. In relating, naturally we make choices, and we have to respond. Responses can be right or wrong based upon common norms. This order of common norms is called the order of Dharma. We have this reality. Everybody seems to know exactly what is right and what is wrong. You know it very well. You don't have to even go to a scripture. Just look at you. What you want for you is what is right. You want to be loved. You want everything for you. You want the best for you. Isn't it natural? And that seems to be the right thing. There is no one who is ignorant of what is right and wrong. None of us. Ask anybody if he or she wants to be hurt. Ask a person here in the US or anywhere in the world if he or she wants to be hurt. Everybody will say, no, Swami, thanks. I don't like that. Not only does everybody know that he or she does not want to get hurt, they also know that others do not want to get hurt either. Don't we? Every living organism wants to survive. Nobody wants to be hurt. Nobody wants to be an object of another deception, to be a victim of somebody's cheating, to be lied to be robbed, and so on. Everybody wants to be free from being a victim of somebody's harmful action. The whole world knows exactly what everybody else should do to oneself. We know it very well. Even the one who robs knows it. Who does not know what he should not tell a lie? Who doesn't know that he should not tell a lie? I want others to speak the truth to me. I do not want others to lie to me. Speaking truth is dharma for me, is what is right. Speaking the non-truth is adharma. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, truthfulness is the tapasya, the highest austerity in this era. Scriptures confirm speaking truth as good behavior and speaking non-truth or lies as bad behavior. Other behavior norms such as non-hurting, humility, charity, are all based upon the same consideration of how I would like others to treat me. Thus, ethical norms are not just arbitrary, man-made rules, but stem from an inherent common regard for one's own interest and comfort. Ethical standards are natural and universal. There is a similarity in everyone's reaction to being hurt, to being cheated, lied, and bullied. We need to make efforts and being open to sacrifice our own interest for the sake of ourselves in others. We create our own problems when we stop considering how our decisions affect others. Do you agree? What about conflict? When does conflict come to us? No one wants a mind in conflict. In fact, many of us might be experiencing conflict right now by being triggered for all I'm saying. That's okay. But let's try to analyze this. That's all we can do. And once we understand, we can slowly transform our lives. Once conflicts are there, problems of the mind are unavoidable. Self-condemnation, regret, guilt, the sense of failure are products of mental conflicts. Conflicts come when I am unable to live up to a particular value which consciously or unconsciously I accept. Societal norms have a universal content, the influence of which I cannot really escape. My inherent desire to be comfortable and secure compels me to set standards for others' behavior, establishing a common sense of ethical code which bounces back. When I cannot live up to my value structure, I am in conflict and I suffer guilt. I say, no, Swami, it's okay. I go to the shrink, I talk to her, and it's there. When you do what you are not supposed to be doing, no matter what, you think that, well, if I do this, I will avoid suffering. Quite the opposite. It ignites suffering within you because there is no peace. Values lead to conflict. You know that? Values lead to conflict. But as we saw before, values cannot simply be avoided. The universal content of values can be negated only if I have no concern how the other person treats me. Are you following? The universal content of values can be negated only if I have no concern how the other person treats me. If I want other people to behave in a certain manner, I am caught in the value system. And that's it. How values cause conflict? When I have a value structure that I follow and accept others to follow in the same manner, my values cause me no conflict. However, when I want others to behave in a certain way, but for my own reasons I am unable or willing to behave in that way, I have a problem. When I have a value and something interferes with my expression of that value, I am in conflict with myself. What interferes with my expression of my general value? Individual, situational values linked with some highly desired personal end can interfere with my expression of general values. Don't hurt others, don't cheat, don't steal. When my individual value for a personal end is at risk. When the general values have not become fully assimilated, personal values for me, when the general values have not become fully assimilated, personal values for me, this is what happens. The universal value for truth provides a good example of a general standard, which frequently is only half assimilated. How is that? Well, I want everybody to speak the truth to me. It is a universal value. Everybody wants that. I'm also obliged to speak the truth because my parents told me, because my religion says so, because the scripture says so. Speaking truth is part of my value system. My value for others' truthfulness to me is both personal and well assimilated. With reference to myself, the value of my being truthful is not immediately clear to me. Has it ever happened to you? When you go like, yes, but what in this particular situation? What if I say just half of the truth and I keep something to myself? I am aware that I am obliged to speak the truth. The disconnection between what I expect of others and what I do result in my having a split value. One half is personal, while the other is obligatory. When a universal value is split into two, a personal value for what I expect from others and an obligatory value for what I expect from myself, there is always a potential for conflict. While personal value is spontaneously observed for its own sake, an obligatory value is subject to compromise when it obstructs a highly desired individual end. I may lie, but I will not be comfortable because I will not be able to avoid what happens when I tell a lie. Easy. What happens is that at first there is conflict because you know what you're supposed to be doing. Yet, it's like, well, Swami, it doesn't have to be like that. What about white lies? There is conflict and there is guilt. I can ignore the guilt, but I cannot avoid guilt because I cannot escape my half value for the truth. The other half. And once I have guilt, I cannot have a fully comfortable self. Fulfilling an immediate end at the expense of a general value may bring some passing comfort, but in the long run, it adds to my discomfort by increasing my accumulation of guilt, large or small. What happens to us? There is a split. When I am split, I cannot fully enjoy anything. I may be in a cruise, but unable to enjoy. This is life, huh? The quality of my life always suffers whenever I become split. The quality of my life always suffers whenever I become split. To appreciate the beauty of life, really to be available, to enjoy its comforts, I need to be able to be with myself. I need to be able to be together with myself, at peace with myself. My personality should stay integrated. When my universal values are only half values, compromised values, they will always have the potential of destroying my unity, my togetherness, producing a split. Why are things valuable? The things are valuable for me, for my pleasure, my security, and my comfort. Easy. I'm giving you the answer. I value things for my comfort. When seeking comfort, if I see between two choices, one of them is going to bring discomfort, then I drop that choice. My action becomes choiceless, like the answer of the question, do I want happiness or unhappiness? What will you answer? Similarly, if I am thoroughly convinced that acting contrary to the general value will result in my suffering, my compliance with that value becomes choiceless. Any value, when it becomes my personal value, becomes choiceless for me. I do not have to think about it. The conduct mandated by a personal value is spontaneous, without reflection. A value, any value, is a value for me only when I see the value of the value as valuable to me. I know I'm torturing you. That's okay. Just bear with me. We have to arrive to a conclusion. I, the comfortable I, is the source of all my values. I fail to follow a universal value only when I do not clearly see its value to me. I fail to follow a universal value only when I do not clearly see its value to me. Guilt comes because I have a half value for truth, which, when I ignore it, creates a problem for me. Split comes because I know I'm obliged to tell the truth, and I am doing something else. Once I have guilt, I am split. I repeated this again and again because it is true. Once I have guilt, once I am split, I cannot be comfortable with myself. Start thinking, why is Swami telling all this? Well, my dear, if you want to lead a spiritual life, you cannot be split. If you want to be so-called spiritual, this cannot happen to you. You need to be at peace. You need to be able to process the truth, to assimilate it. It's not just because the scriptures say, don't lie, don't break into a house and steal other people's belongings. That will create what? Pain to somebody else. And you don't want that to happen to you, do you? I'm just giving you, extreme examples so that, it hits home. For comforts to be enjoyed, I must be there to enjoy them. I, not partially I have to be completely there. Not my mind parted and thinking, oh, why did I do this? Never mind, let me just enjoy. You can't enjoy fully. Has it ever happened to you? I once was told, may God bless you so that you can have the mind to enjoy what you have. And I thought that was a wonderful blessing. That was really a beautiful wish. Because sometimes, even though we live in this place like this, if we are not at peace with ourselves, we don't see. We don't feel. It's a gorgeous place. You should see the sunset here. Not recognizing the problem for what it is, I seek more comfort to ease my uncomfortable mind. I seek more comforts, or I try to find some method for turning off this conflicting mind and its brood of guilt. When I tell a lie, I add to my discomfort when what I was trying to gain by the lie was to add to my comfort. It's quite the opposite, huh? You add nothing but discomfort. Do you see this? There is a natural law that we don't want to accept around all of us. Because we love to be centered in ourselves. We love to be centered in our bodies. But that's not the way it works. Since I made a conflicting choice, I cannot enjoy my search for comfort because of the guilt and the split arising from this conflict. When I clearly see this fact, I will see the value of applying universal ethical standards to myself. My half value for universal values will become a full value. Life expression comes from value structure. The expression of my life is just the expression of my well-assimilated structure, assimilated value structure. Only assimilated values are personal values then. Assimilated values reflect what is valuable to me. An assimilated personal value requires no choice of my part. No choice of my part. When I want certain unassimilated values to become part of my value structure, I must exercise deliberation in following them until I am convinced of their value to me. When I want certain unassimilated values to become part of my value structure, I must exercise deliberation in following them, until I am convinced of their value in me. Does it make sense now? Why we have to follow values? Why we have to have a value structure in our life? Their observance will become spontaneous for me, for which I must see its value in my personal life. For the person with assimilated ethical values, life becomes very, very simple. No conflicts in the mind. For such a person, the teaching of Vedanta is like meeting the gas that ignites the fire. The knowledge ignites just like this, like in a flash. And Vedanta is all about knowledge. Knowledge of who you are. Knowledge of what we are. And that needs to be assimilated. Not just because, Swami gave a great lecture on the oneness in everything. You have to practice it. Until it becomes yours. Either one has to be programmed totally, like in the case of the animals, or one has to be the master of oneself. And that's our case. This is the goal. This is the value and importance of the applications of universal values in our lives. And what is the one value? Give me 5 more minutes. What is the one value that we all need to practice? Practice in which all values come together.
Love.
What is the one value we need to practice in which all values come together? The entire dharma, the structure of rightfulness, of what is right, the harmony in everything, means one value. Avoid infusing pain in others. Is it clear? Avoid hurting others. All other values of life derive from this value. Why you should not steal somebody else's wealth? When you take somebody else's money, that infuses pain. Similarly, you can derive all the values by applying this rule. Whatever pains others, avoid doing that. We need to make this one universal value, our personal value, completely in our lives, in our daily life. When that universal value, not just half, becomes one, then only you will be at peace. Then only you will be able to enjoy life. Then only you will be able to meditate. How you start your spiritual life? Become one. Be real. When I am established in this harmony, in this universe, my response to every situation becomes a value. And once a person understands the importance of the universal harmony or order, then dharma comes to you. And what is dharma? Truly, it means order. It means God. A mature person who is aware of this order, like an invisible hand, putting everything, keeping everything in harmony. He lives in God. He does not deliver it. Just think of values. He just follows them. His life is value. A value is a value only when the value of the value is valued by you. We will value the value only if our mind is in harmony with the cosmic order. Only if our mind is in harmony with the cosmic order, or what we call God. Therefore, all values derive from seeing each other as one. Eventually, with commitment and determination, as we practice, we assimilate this word. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. One who knows oneself to be the self in all beings. Such a person, though acting, is not tainted. Though acting, is not affected. We have to be a responsible member of this cosmic orchestra. The whole cosmos is a music. It's a rhythm. It's in harmony. This is a dharmic life. And this is what is and will prepare the ground to know the experience of what is to be one with God. This dharmic life will prepare the ground to experience God in our lives. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, one who knows oneself to be the self in all beings. When that happens to us, there is no more conflict. There is only God. Thank you. Before I say the last prayer, do you have any questions? Yes.
Swamiji, thank you for sharing your knowledge and values. I have a lot of questions in my mind that I will only go with the one. So, in the everyday life, okay, when you are taking decisions, I'm talking about the value of truth. So, you're going through a phase where you know that there are a lot of things that are not right. And sometimes a couple of your close relatives, they ask you questions when you talk to both of them, when you listen to both the sides, you find out that both are right. So, but you have to share your opinion. So in those...
Don't get involved.
So what should we do in those kind of situations?
Well, maybe both are right.
But then how can we, because we have to share the truth, and then one person will get hurt when I will share the truth to the other person.
Mm-hmm. Well, pain in life is unavoidable. We just cannot avoid pain. This life, no matter how hard it is to accept it, it's misery in general, generally speaking. Don't try to find just the perfect state where you will see just nothing but good. Everything is a combination of good and bad. Just try not to hurt others.
But as you mentioned that the final value is not to hurt anyone's feeling. So if I will not speak up, and in that scenario, I'm actually not following my values of truth, but at the same time, if I speak up, I'm hurting someone's feeling.
Well, I mean, you can contribute with your knowledge of what your value is as to be right for both. That will solve the problem, provided both of them are willing to accept your truth. But I think, and we all know, what is right. And whatever you want to do others to you, you have to express that in your life.
Swami, just a comment, but your talk reminds me, we went to a retreat some months ago up in Canyon Hills, and there was a priest there. And,
I think I was there, no?
You were there. And so, we talk a lot about seeing the oneness of all, seeing God in all. And he said something that time that kind of triggered me, and I kind of tried to use it. And he said, he uses 5 words when he goes about his life and treating others. And of course, he was a Catholic priest with Jesus. But his comment was that, because we had asked, well, how do you see the oneness in everybody? It's not easy. We say it in the morning, we're going to do this. But he said 5 words, and he said, think of this, he goes, you did it to me. So whenever you see anybody, and he was visualizing Jesus, whenever you see anybody, you treat them kindly and warmly because you did it to me, you did it to Christ, you did it to Ramakrishna. And I just find it as a way to kind of get
a powerful way to... everybody will practice this in your own way, in your own lives, whether from the dualistic standpoint, if you want to relate to God as a personal God. We can practice this, which is very useful and very powerful, actually, practice. However, it's also true that when you are reminded of this in your life, when you are reminded of the real universal value becoming one with your personal value and not just half, it's also your call, it's your decision. I mean, we are all the time confronted with this problem. And also, will I be able to enjoy peace of mind? Will this give me peace? As I always say, sometimes just saying the right word at the right moment, can save you, such a, or avoid such a nasty moment in your life, I think it has to make sense. How we apply this in our lives, I wasn't able to, I wanted to share with you the certain values, that are Vedantic values, to enumerate them and to explain them. It would have taken another hour. So I'm going to make another talk, volume 2, on these Vedantic values. We all know the values of ahimsa, from the yoga, Ashtanga yoga, yama, niyama. But there are certain values that are expressed by Sri Krishna, and if we truly understand these values, like self-conceit, and work on it in our lives, then slowly we can start opening up to this universal value. So I just wanted to share with you how important it is for us to make a universal value, a personal value, to make it one, how to avoid conflict and this split that we usually experience in our lives that not help us, just live at peace or just doesn't allow us to enjoy our present moment. And this is very important for you to acknowledge your present moment. Also, without practicing this, if at all, in Vedanta, for those who have read a lot, we talk about the citta shuddhi, the purification of the mind, and for that we have to work unselflessly, but truly, if we pay attention to these values, this structure, our value structure, and we apply this value structure in our lives, the rest will take care of itself. Knowingly or unknowingly, we will be tuning up to this dharma, universal dharma, and the rest will follow. So it's just that it's hard. Of course, it's hard to see oneself in another. I mean, that's the highest expression of your own development as a human being. But to contemplate upon this and to understand that there is no other way. There is no other way to accept that life are a bunch of laws, and we're all subject to those laws. And there is one law that we don't seem to understand and accept it. We just we don't want to see it, and that is, if we want to experience goodness and well-being, we have to give it. We have to show it in our lives. Yeah.
Well, our karma wants to play and fluctuate. And I think this all is our test of faith, is actually beautiful. I love every word you say. I can comprehend. Just about everything you say, and your teachings are done well. And I think even just our faith and practice, we can be so pure for so long. Some of us, I'm young and I'm not a Swami or anything, or a pastor or anything like that, but I know that doing wrong, doing good, it wants to play with me. It wants to, you've been so good for so long, let's reward you with something you want to do wrong. And I think that our perfection gets in the way, like we're not perfect, and it's right that we have to deal with our perfection, our imperfections. That we can't have fear with that. It all plays a part in this all turmoil, right?
Well, fear of, we can be afraid. Well, there is no fear when we see oneness in all, in everything. The only cause of fear is because we constantly experience duality in our lives. And if you analyze, when you are afraid, that is because you're unable to accept what comes to you and accept what you deserve. Sometimes it's hard to take that. Just well, that's what I deserve. But, upon circumstances where there is nothing else for you to do through effort, you just need to accept and move on. No? So, yes, this is life. It's not perfect in the sense that where there is good, there is bad. And there seems to be a perfect harmony in all these. Sometimes we are so judgmental that, it's hard for us to just let go and flow with it. But just as you see an animal doing its thing, and you can teach them, you can encourage that dog or whatever not to do that, but it's in his nature. And so we are naturally selfish beings. We are born in this world, and immediately when we are born, the first thing that we see is our bodies, and we say, oh, I am this. I am this body, and that's the source of all your selfishness. Slowly as we grow and we expand, we understand that we are more than our bodies. And we are supposed to lead our lives, not just centered in our bodies, but in that consciousness that is in everything. And that's part of our growth. That's part of our spiritual life, to the awakening of our spiritual lives. And when we awake to that, when we are called by the so-called spirit, I mean, you just cannot be half. If you're going to do it, you have to go all the way. Otherwise, don't complain. Otherwise, don't complain. It is okay, though. Just don't complain. Eventually, we'll get there, but, yeah, life is beautiful. So I did not get the time to go into the principle of God as Dharma, which is a beautiful thing. I always talk about God, and how we are called to have a relationship with God. If we see Dharma as that principle of God, that's also an easy way, to practice this. All right? Yes?
Thank you, Swami, very much. Hi, Swami D.
Hey.
So good to see you.
Likewise.
I wanted to ask you a question. I don't mind asking you on this platform, though.
Mm-hmm.
For everybody. As far as Dharma being the profound top value, the end value, you mentioned in your lecture Dharma being, or at least you refer to it as being what is right, and its counterpart being what is wrong, or what is good, and its counterpart being what is bad. But I wanted to ask, so I'm clear, could you also, would you say Dharma is what is? Is it a matter of, because it seems like
Dharma is what is correct. Dharma, it is what it is.
not an illusion.
Dharma, it's a law.
And anything else?
It's law based on the law of karma, the law of causation. The only way to stay away from the consequences of doing the right and wrong is to follow Dharma.
So to have our gaze correctly.
And that's kind of expressed in what is right. What is right. And sometimes it's difficult for us to define what is right because we instantly fall into this concept of good and bad, right and wrong. But we know what is right, truly. And it doesn't matter if you are at the cost of what is right.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Swami.
Hey.
I have a question about the maybe like practicality and implementation of Tattvamasi and how we can.
Oh. Oh boy.
Yeah, how do to Swami Dhyanayogananda.
You like to fly high, yeah. I like that too.
How does Swami Dhyanayogananda recommend any type of meditation or pranayama techniques or anything like that or visualization techniques to get closer to that goal?
There is no, you will find in most of our swamis in our tradition, we don't give just, okay, this is the recipe for you. Truly, it's for you need to understand what the principles are. And by understanding what needs to be done, you need to customize your spiritual practice in your own life. Meaning, maybe certain things or certain practices work for me, but may not work for you. All we need is to experience peace, harmony, contentment, and tranquility every single moment of our lives, no matter what. If you are able to stay tranquil and calm, then you will be leading a good life because you will be able to make the right decisions. You will be able to stay alert. You will be able to stay with yourself, to be with yourself, to be together, to be a unity. You see, Spiritual life is actually, it's very easy to explain. It is what I just told you. Now, the means that you take in order to stay calm, because naturally we are, constant fight by the three gunas, rajas, tamas, inertia, and sattvas that is constantly fighting for, like, I need to be at peace, I need to experience God. God is in front of you. God is in front of your very eyes. It's just that we don't have the quietude that we need to see it. So what I mean to say, that Swami Dhyanayogananda recommend, well, I am more of trying to process this, just feel for others. I tune a lot with Jesus Christ's message. Very simple, one word, you all know it. And that takes care of everything. Even this value I just mentioned, this value, when you practice in which all the values come together, is just the thing that you need to practice in your daily life. No matter how many hours you sit for meditation, you are like, and if you repeat the mantra 1,000 times, this is what's going to make you feel united with God. Mm-hmm. So, yes, there is no spiritual life, and I kind of agree with this. Swami Dhyanayogananda says, without meditation, meaning because we are all, bound and sort of like obligated to go out and stay active. And action, make us lose our balance. And our mind naturally is like a monkey, just keeps jumping from one branch to another, and we are unable to follow. We're unable to discern what's going on. We just simply follow our thoughts, and we become our thoughts. So it is essential that you give, a place to your mind to come down every day, and it becomes natural, so that in your daily life, you can experience that. Or even by you becoming aware of, what am I thinking, where am I going, where am I? By you becoming aware of that, you can call upon your attention right away and come back to your place, which is in your heart. So meditation in the heart, it is important. I would say essential for us, who all want to, to practice this and to, to become this. Being and becoming. Even though we are already, we need to express it. We need to show it in our lives. Is it clear? Did I answer your question? I can tell you about so many spiritual practices you can do, but they will all aim to keep your mind focused. So if you understand this, you can think about, well, according to my own, persona, what is best for me? But you need to do it. Maybe the repetition of the name of God, the practice of japa, it always, everybody, it helps everybody. You call upon your attention, come back, by repeating the name of God and being reminded of its meaning. You immediately give rest to your mind. And that is a form of meditation.
I was asking because I think that a lot of people, I should say myself, struggle to connect the theory with the implementation.
Oh yes, I'm very interested in the implementation part. I am one of those swamis who are all for implementation. It's super easy. This is easy. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't say this, but seriously, what else do you need to know? You just said it. Tattvamasi. But then what do we do? And the teacher goes, Tattvamasi. But then what do I have to do? And the teacher goes, Tat Tvamasi. Thou art that. Thou art that. Thou art that. So now you need to internalize this, to take it in, to become yours. I am that. What does it mean? Thou art that. Anybody else? Yes.
Weren't we going to start taking these Q&As into the library?
I think we can now, right?
We did a couple weeks ago.
We did? I wasn't here then.
Swami Dhyanayogananda.
Oh, huh. I wasn't here. Yes, we can. Are you all comfortable? I mean, I think we can continue today. We can continue here. I mean, unless you want to go to the library and have a cup of tea. I have time. I love to talk about these things. Actually, it's my passion, so no problem. No, I mean, sometimes I find that it's kind of hard to structure a talk with a message, without having, again, like a skeleton of how you present things, I could just tell you whatever I just told you, in an hour, exactly the bottom line is this, but then it will not hit you the same way. So we struggle, I mean, I talk about myself, to organize ideas so that they are conveyed in a way that makes sense to you. Does this make sense? Why are values important? Because without them, you cannot lead a spiritual life. If you don't exercise them fully, there is no peace. Not because you are bad, not because, you're not that. Because it's the law. It's the law. You can't avoid it. It is what it is. Happens to you, happens to me, happens to all of us. You don't experience peace, or you experience guilt, because it's the law. Just as it is the law that we are born in these bodies and we grow up and we grow old and we go. We seem to go. Apparently we don't go anywhere. Which is something that I enjoy. At least to be aware right now, I'm excited about the moment. When the moment comes. See, we shouldn't be afraid of death, right? What we call death is nothing but the body. The body dies. We don't. So you should kind of be excited and be a friend of it. Life is just this. Death cannot be the end of all. But since we are here, we are supposed to live. And there is only one way to live and be in joy and enjoy your life. We are here to enjoy our lives. We are not here to be enjoyed. And this is what is happening to us. We live in ignorance, right? And that's the reason why we are enjoyed. We are not in control of ourselves. So we have that capacity to understand and to contemplate about sincerely, and here comes what is right. And there is nothing, nobody, not even your parents, to tell you, oh, see, you have to be truthful. Oh, you see, you shouldn't be doing it. You should know. You know it already. You know it. Now, it's your choice. It's actually your call. It's actually up to us. Nobody is, saying, do this. It's our choice. If we do it, okay, you have to pay the consequences. Not a problem. If you are so bold to do something that is not correct, then you have to be as bold to pay the consequences. God is always with a smile, you know. No problem. Very good. Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, that outer world is Purna, full of divine consciousness. This inner world is also Purna, full of divine consciousness. From Purna comes Purna. From the fullness of divine consciousness, this world is manifested. Taking Purna from Purna, Purna indeed remains, because divine consciousness is non-dual and infinite. Om, peace, peace.